And we are there as the Combine is underway, or will be getting underway this week in Indianapolis. So for more on the Combine and what to make of how it affects the upcoming draft, and especially the top of the draft, delighted to be joined now by Emmanuel Acho, who does a great job for us covering college and the NFL, and obviously spent 5 or 6 years playing for, among other teams, the Browns, the Eagles, and the Giants in the NFL. Emmanuel, thanks for being with us. The Burrow thing is interesting, right? Because he's a kid from Ohio, and the Bengals obviously have the number one pick in Cincinnati. On one level, it makes all the sense in the world, but it just feels like there may be some hesitation on the side of the Burrow camp to just be wholeheartedly all in on going to Cincinnati, which quite frankly would be understandable.
Yeah, you're exactly right on that. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And I think Joe Burrow, he understands that, yeah, he may go number one overall. But if he goes number one overall to the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that has been in utter disarray for a decade and change, that what's really going to happen to his career? And it also doesn't help that several former Bengals players have spoke out against that organization, including the likes of Carson Palmer, if I'm not mistaken. And so Joe Burrow, he understands, like, yes, he wants to be the number one pick, and he will be the number one pick. But going to the Bengals could set his career on a backtrack.
So I was a 10th round pick back when there were 12 rounds. You were a 6th round pick in a 7-round draft, so we were never in this position. Is this something you could do? Is this something, if you had that leverage, that you think you would be able to do to tell a team, no, don't pick me, I'm not coming to play for you?
I don't think so. I don't think that I would have the sort of guts, and also I don't think that I would have the necessary parental guidance. Think about the people who did it. Eli Manning, he had Peyton. More importantly, he had Archie. Joe Burrow, his dad's a football coach. They're in the game. I'm first-generation American. Football to my parents was soccer. So I don't necessarily have the sort of counsel and generations of football knowledge who could have told me and enlightened me on the matter. But let's not forget one thing. Joe Burrow doesn't have as much leverage as he thinks he does. His last name is Burrow. His last name isn't Manning. And so while he has said and verbalized that he has leverage, I'm not convinced that the dude has as much leverage as he thinks. And right now he's playing with house money, had a phenomenal last year at LSU. Just go be the number one pick and hope for the best.
Yeah, look, he has as much leverage as he's willing to apply, I think is the right way to look at it. Because if he really wanted to be that dude, like you alluded to, John Elway and Eli Manning were both very, very public. He sort of hinted at it.
Yes.
I mean, John Elway said, "Do not draft me." Eli Manning and his family said, "We do not want to go to San Diego." So if he wants that leverage, he's going to have to be a lot more vocal than he's been so far.
And we're going to find out today and in the coming days at the NFL Combine. This is what I love about this Combine period. Not things so trivial as measuring the size of your hands, but rather, I want to hear what Burrow has to say about Cincy. It's not enough for him to be mum on it. It's not enough for him to simply say, you know what, I'd be happy with whoever takes me. I need to hear him say, I want to go to Cincinnati. I'm excited to be the number one pick. And I think Bengals management and head coach Zach Taylor, he wants to hear that as well.
Talking to Emmanuel Acho now, our ESPN football analyst, and we're getting ready to do the Combine. Your brother Sam still in the league. He was a 4th-round pick by the Arizona Cardinals back in 2011, looking at some of his Combine numbers. What do you think? I have my thoughts on the Combine. We just found out Joe Burrow's hands are, oh my God, only 9 inches. What are your thoughts on that, and then kind of overall how we look at the Combine?
Let's put the Combine in perspective, gentlemen. The Combine should be used to support data. The Combine should not be used to create an idea of something that does not exist. If Joe Burrow was a receiver, for example, and he was plagued by numerous drops, then all of a sudden he has 9-inch hands. That's a big deal. But Joe Burrow, he doesn't have a fumbling issue. He doesn't have a ball security issue. So his hand size should mean nothing. Again, when you look at the Combine, sometimes it can get in its own way. And rather than looking for data and rather than looking for information that actually is meaningful, we look for data and information that is most easy to measure. The 40 time, that's easy to quantify. hand size, vertical jumps. These things are easy to quantify, when in reality, they often mean nothing. So that's kind of my 2 cents in how I feel about it.
Well, you're right. And the best example of that in recent memory is there are two quarterbacks that ran the same 40 time, and you look at them completely differently. Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes ran the same 40 time at the Combine, 4.8. Yeah. I think we can all say with great certainty one was a better runner and is a better runner in the NFL than the other. So it is your perspective. And that's the hard part that people don't understand sometimes, Emmanuel, about the draft process. There are conflicting ideologies.
Yes.
Because the team is trying to find anything that might lower someone's draft value, while the draftee himself is using this entire process, pro day, interviews, the Combine, to elevate his draft status.
And make no mistake about it. I remember sitting in old school coaches, they still believe in these a lot of the Combine measurables. I was sitting in one of my coach's office when I was in the NFL, and he had a book. It was a thick binder, maybe 200 or so pages. And he had all position groups, and he had former greats. And he was looking at their measurables because he was comparing former greats measurables to Combine players' measurables. And he was under the idea, the premonition that I'm not going to take a player unless he fits the build of these former greats. And I think his quote or soundbite was like, if you make too many exceptions, you'll be far from exceptional. That was his theory. That was his belief. As a player, I'll tell y'all, I went to the Combine. I weighed in at 238 as a linebacker. I was so nervous about running my 40, I knew I had to run a 4.5. By the time I ran 2 days later, I was 228 that morning. I ended up pulling my quad, probably because of dehydration. So just know these athletes, they don't take it lightly. They're doing everything they can to test as well as possible.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.